Craftsmanship, craft and manual production have become buzzwords in the creative sector and far beyond. Handwork, repair shops, all manner of do-yourself books, they are all the rage again. At the same time, learning a craft is more than ever seen as a credible response to the problem of unskilled youngsters in towns and cities. Ensembles looks at how architects find these craftsmen to be partners in creating good architecture.
As far as I can see it, it's not about the past of architecture, it's about its future. It's about the fact that embedded in architecture there is a tradition of making things very well, but that at the same time making things very well is becoming more essential if you have to reuse buildings, make them available for the future. If you actually design for a finite world, this finite world means that buildings have a life of when they're being designed, they have a life when they're being used. But of course, it also has a life after being used. There's an afterlife.
So we believe that a collaboration between an architect, a designer and a craftsman can lead to innovation, but can also lead to the passing on of knowledge from one to the other. They both have their own knowledge about building, about creating something. But if they collaborate in making something, they can really make something new, create something new. What also is interesting about the whole building industry is that people with all kinds of different background can work in this industry. So people with different skills can collaborate, and there can be collaboration which creates something new, something interesting.
There are jobs for which you have to have a sort of university degree. There are other jobs for which you don't need any degree at all, where people sort of come in straight off the street. That kind of accessibility is a huge asset. It's a hugely important aspect of the building industries. It means that people can kind of enter them at different levels, and they can learn on the job. And you could say it's also really a vehicle for social mobility within the industry.
Well, actually in the exhibition we have a couple of pieces which are three-dimensional and have been made specifically for this exhibition. We wanted to lead the spectator towards these pieces. So the scenography, actually the exhibition layout has been defined like a walk, like meandering through information, and also then here and there ending up at these three-dimensional objects, which show the craftsmanship the best, because you can watch the objects from close and then you see how they are made, while actually you can also find the more historical or even actual information on the panels, on the boards, swinging and floating in the structure we just put for the scenography, which is basically a repetitive wooden frame structure.
In the process of making the exhibition Ensembles, we also looked at craft in contemporary projects. And we really tried to look for craftsmanship in concrete, in steel. And one example that we really found interesting was prefab concrete, which at first sight doesn't really reveal any craftsmanship. But if you visit a factory in which prefab concrete is made, it's incredible how much craftsmanship goes into these elements. So people actually make molds to make these prefab elements, but it's a very, very precise process of making these molds. So even in the most prefabricated elements, a lot of craftsmanship is invested.
Overall, it's interesting to see that the value of material seems to have changed. It's clear that steel and glass and concrete are the materials of the 20th century, and brick and wood seem to be the materials of the 21st. Adaptable, open-ended, always to be used and to be altered. Architecture for a finite world.
After the widely appreciated Flemish presentation on craftsmanship in the Belgian pavilion at the Architecture Biennale in Venice, the craftsman is now also making his appearance at deSingel. In Ensembles, Architecture and Craft, the Flanders Architecture Institute and the Antwerp Provincial Architectural Archives offer a view of what craft and craftsmanship have meant to architects both past and present. Discover the craftsman in architecture until January 15 at deSingel in Antwerp.